This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
All right, well, yes, indeed. Again, you found us once again coming to you here on December 12th from a very cold and snowy frat house on the all-new Frat House Sports Show. And it's certainly beginning to look a lot like Christmas around here, huh, Sidekick?
Yep. Feels like it.
In a few moments, we're gonna move right to our action on the ice segment, and I'm not talking about the roads around the frat house here. But I kind of decided late this afternoon to call an audible and just throw this idea out there to open this week's show. This coming collegiate football bowl season will mark the 10th and final year of the Bowl Championship Series format that we have grown to know and, well, frankly, hate. This year, the BCS Championship game was set last Saturday, and we know now that the number 1 Florida State will play number 2 Auburn on January 6th. And so the BCS format, which we no sooner all got used to and learned its idiosyncrasies, well, they got it right this year. We have a number 1 playing a number 2 for the national bragging right. And that's what all college football fans have been screaming about and have wanted for years. But that's all going to change next season when the format changes to a small number of selected schools participating in a playoff-style format over 2 weeks. And that'll be something new that we're all going to have to get used to all over again. But I wanted to throw this concept out to you, Sidekick. In yesterday's USA Today, Paul Marburg and Tim McGarry presented a hypothetical concept of a 64-team collegiate football playoff. Now, I know you're not much of a college football fan yourself, but I got to ask, wouldn't this kind of setup, this very similar to the NCAA basketball tournament with brackets, wouldn't that get you going?
So we would be talking, I guess, roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You got the idea.
About 6 weeks.
You got the idea.
No, I would like that better than the current format.
Yeah.
Because then no.
Yep.
The only problem is it kind of defeats records, though.
Okay.
So, records don't play into it necessarily.
Well, they wouldn't determining the round, who would be in the 64. Here's the problem. Part of the argument for why this situation here would be impossible is allegedly the amount of time required to play all of these games. But as you just pointed out, if you take a look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Okay, 5 weeks. That's all it would take. Now, that's the same right now as what we've got with the NFL playoffs. And it's also the same amount of time that is currently lost playing meaningless bowl games that are played between the second week of December and the first week of January. So, in fact, if we were to take, say, the first round, begin some of those games on a Thursday, spread it over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you could probably get all the first round games in without any issue. Go to the second week, go to the third week, and the number of games obviously would diminish until you get to a 64. I'm telling you, this could be just as exciting as the NCAA tournament, men's basketball tournament, where you'd have office pools going in the whole bit. This could get really, and with even somebody like you, who's not a college football fan, an instant college football fan.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. I like this idea. I think it's doable, and I think this is what they ought to be going towards. Right there. That's it.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Oh, I get juice just even thinking about it. Okay. All right, listen now.
Well, we haven't even gotten to...
we haven't even gotten to the good stuff.
We haven't even gotten to Peyton Manning yet. Good Lord. He's spent already.
Listen, since the beginning of the week, we've seen a lot of ice around the frat house, and we're expected to even see a bit more coming this weekend. So ice, what does that make me think of? Well, hey, of course, hockey, huh? And as usual, our NHL report is brought to you by our friends down in Baltimore at www.herbfm.com, where you can hear the audio rebroadcast of our show right here, along with all their other live sports broadcasts, a lot more that they're doing this season, and other programming. So I would encourage you, please, get over there, give them a listen. And that also means that we've got to bring in our hat trick guy, Uncle Mark, for our weekly report. Okay, well, we got Uncle Mark on the line with us. And, hey, Mark, you've got some news for us coming from, well, the annual Board of Governors meeting there with the NHL. What do you got?
Yeah, that's right, Mike and Sidekick. Good evening. Well, adjourning from their meeting this last Tuesday out in Pebble Beach, California, a location better known for golf courses, resorts, and, well, classic auto auctions, the NHL owners and Board of Governors report everything's coming up roses.
Yeah.
Everything is great in terms of growth, revenue sharing, player safety. NHL couldn't be better. So really, what did we learn? Well, essentially, we've got four snippets I'm going to run through here. Number one, the annual salary cap, which was a bone of contention pre-lockout, is expected to raise, surprise, surprise, about 7%. To $71.1 million, up from the current level of $64.3 million in now the second year of the collective bargaining agreement that was ratified after, who can forget, 119 days last year. Also, second, once again, surprise, surprise, the owners unanimously approved the $5.2 billion, that's Canadian dollar, 12-year TV multimedia contract with Rogers Communications. Now, that lucrative contract is set to begin and run uninterrupted next season through 2025-26. Boy, that seems an awful hard number to get my head around.
Yep.
But they're going to start getting some cash back from that, Cal, beginning right away next year. Third, they talked about the upcoming Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia, and evidently the NHL Player Safety Committee and the NHLPA are in alliance with the International Ice Hockey Federation to maintain NHL-level player safety throughout the Olympics, which leads me to the fourth nugget, which was that very topic. The safety topic came up, and the board evidently is, quote, very comfortable with the job that Brendan Shanahan is doing, overseeing the Department of Player Safety. Of course, he's the lead disciplinarian. Let's get it straight.
Right.
He used to be what Colin Campbell had that position originally, and now he's in charge. The essence of Shanahan's presentation revolved around his disciplinary measures, including suspensions, fines, the video explanations that he's posting online, and the idea that we're going to help to modify player performance and player conduct.
Let's go back, though, to the salary cap one, because I think that's probably the lightning rod issue there. That's a substantial increase over what we see from this past year. Now, of course, this year, of course, was determined based on a strike or a lockout shortened season from last year. But nonetheless, one of the observations you made yesterday was that, hey, with this increase, we can probably expect to see these exorbitant contracts continue to rise. How is this going to affect the small market teams?
Well, here, I mean, the bottom line is there is a revenue sharing system in place, but it's going to create sort of a shift away from profitability, especially for these struggling small market teams. Although they now have flexibility to spend more, well, it's just like real life economics. If you spend on your credit greater than you can get back your revenue for repayment, you're going to constantly find yourself behind. And it's a funny thing when you talk about small market. It's hard to believe, as an example of a team not showing profitability. Let's go out to LA. right now. The LA Kings are selling out their stadium. They're putting 18,000 people in the seats. They're selling out at home, but they have yet to show a profitable year for like the last 5 years. So at the end of the day, while the revenues are being generated and the NHL is getting their share and the owners are happy overall, and the players are going to get their cut of the 50-50 revenue share. When all's said and done, that is what I would consider economically struggling situation. If you're not showing a profit at the end of your year, I don't think you're running your business right.
And see, that's the misnomer that I think frequently occurs. People hear that the salary cap is increasing, and a lot of times people look at it and go, well, the Phoenixes, the New Jersey Devils, the Florida Panthers, they're going to benefit from this. In fact, they don't. They really don't benefit from the salary cap being increased. In fact, I think it actually puts them behind the 8 ball even more.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, what were you going to say, Sidekick?
Well, I was going to say, in regards to the salary cap, it's funny because in a USA Today article that was written by Kevin Allen, he said, the salary cap being raised is welcome news for many NHL teams that have struggled to stay under the cap this season.
I think it's completely the opposite.
And it's like, where you're struggling to stay under the cap. All these teams are struggling to stay under the cap.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did we have a lockout last season? I mean,
Well, and you've hit it right on the head. There's two things I would add there. Lou Lamoriello, who's of course one of the great GMs in the sport, and of course he's with the New Jersey Devils, basically said, and they were kind of sobering words. Yeah, at the end of the day, we all want to be able to pay and buy our performance and our success, but really you have to be able to afford it first.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. And yeah, it's hard to believe that these teams are necessarily all buying in that this is great. Let's be honest. For the owners, for the NHL, and for Bettman, this is all good news because this is a money grab. This is a money grab. You've got a couple of major TV contracts in place now, both in Canada and down here in the United States. They see everything coming up roses. We'll see. I mean, the individual owners, the individual franchises are going to continue to struggle, and I think what's going to happen is you're going to not hear about them so much pretty soon.
Well, you're going to hear about them if if they're showing a lot of red ink at the end of the season. What else you got there?
Well, there were just a couple other three quick points I wanted to mention that Bettman addressed to the media following the Board of Governors adjournment on Tuesday. One of the questions was basically, what place will fighting hold in the future of the NHL? And wait and see is essentially how the NHL has left it and parsed statements on the subject in the past. But following questions, Bettman hinted that ejection from the game is not beyond the realm of possibility going forward, and that fighting might actually be downsized or excised completely. Quote, if there comes a point where that's on the table and that enough people feel it needs to be changed, then it'll get considered. But according to the last poll I saw from players, something like 98% of the players like it the way it is, end quote. Interesting only because at the beginning of late last week, beginning of the weekend, we saw an absolute travesty in penalties and suspensions between the Boston Bruins and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sean Thornton ultimately just pummeling after slew-footing Orpik from the Pittsburgh Penguins. He went down and pummeled the guy, sent him off on a stretcher with a concussion. Fighting and this kind of barbarism, I don't know really what else to call it, is on an uptick. No matter what Brendan Shanahan wants to say about we're policing and we're training and we're helping the players get back in line, I see the brutality of the sport growing in a way that I find alarming thus far.
Let me throw one at you, Sidekick, here, because we just saw the other day. What was it, today or yesterday? Major League Baseball absolutely ruled out any possibility of a runner taking a catcher out at home plate. Mm-hmm. I frankly am opposed to it. I thought it was ridiculous that they would go to that degree. But with that kind of thing out there now with Major League Baseball, we're talking about fighting in another sport. It would seem to me there's going to be an impetus that fighting is going to be gone, yes?
Well, it certainly sounds like they want to go in that
when we're
direction.
talking about taking, just something simple as taking out a basic act of taking a catcher out, which has been in the game forever,
right?
It would seem there's going to be a ripple effect into other sports.
Well, it's weird with hockey because fighting is so much a part of hockey, But on the other side, you've got the safety aspect of it. Of course, the players, 98% of them are going to say, "Yeah, we want to fight."
Well, they want to police themselves.
You know what I mean? But I don't know if you're going to see fighting actually go away.
Wow. Mark, where do you come down on it?
Well, it's a funny thing, going to what you're saying there, Sidekick, there is increased safety just by virtue of uniforms. We now wear helmets mandatorily for the last 15 years. More and more players are wearing visors. You have the fight strap on the back of the jersey. More and more, you're putting yourself in jeopardy to even try and fight a guy who's wearing a visor, maybe a mouth guard, and you're trying to pummel this guy with his helmet on. I think fighting at this point should be one of those situations where, yes, the sport probably has it in its heritage, but I think should you fight and choose to, and it's legitimately a fight, I'm really sore as hell, then I think it demands an ejection from the game. That's the penalty. You're not going to play the rest of the game. I don't think you should necessarily be suspended, but I think it's a tiger with no teeth if we're just going to hand out fines and suspensions, but we continue to hire players who are in a, quote, role.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. And the old term of, quote, the code. Well, you have a code. There is the code of fighting. I think all that has to be vanquished.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think, when it comes to fighting, you have to make that line. If some guy goes down and then you jump on him and you're pummeling him,
right?
That's blatant.
That's different than if the two of us are standing toe to toe. That's a different situation.
And we're just fighting,
right?
Okay,
that's one thing.
But you have to define what is excessive,
right?
It's okay to fight. We don't kind of like NASCAR. We don't want to get we don't want to get involved here.
Right.
It's up to the drivers or it's up to the players to fight. But if you go over the line, and here's what we call the line, then you're going to be ejected. You may be suspended. You're going to be fined. And it needs to, but whatever the punishment is, needs to be on the excessive side.
Agreed. Agreed.
So you can deter that behavior.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Again, in the NHL right now, it would appear from the financial side, looking at the books, Bettman's absolutely right in one aspect. When he gives credit to the fans. Everything that's happened is a testament to the enduring strength of our game and the passion of our fans, is what he said to the media. He's absolutely right. I mean, consider, only in the NHL could there exist a business model based on locking out its players, scrapping its product, and then seeing its business grow exponentially. I mean, tell me where else in the real world that works, except in the NHL.
All right, man, great stuff. I know
you might want to question the fans.
Well, agreed. We're going to leave that for another show because I think we could do a whole thing just on the fan base.
Oh, without a doubt.
Suggest we do that. And I know you had a couple other things for us, but I think we're going to hold that for next week. Listen, great stuff tonight. Thanks for bringing us up to date on all that. Great conversations, and thank you for bringing it.
All right, you got it. We are Frozen Pan followers, and obviously we're fans without a league, too.
You got it, man.
All right.
Catch you next week. All right, guys. There you go. A little NHL chat brought to you by our friends at Herb FM Sports. Be sure to give them a look up and a listen on the internet. All right? Wow, big weekend in the NFL with lots of stories, lots of sports. You got 4 minutes or so?
Yep. For you, anytime.
And now, 4 minutes of football.
Well, this past weekend gave us a little bit of everything. I'm going to try to get into it real quick. No less than 4 games. How about that? All going on at the same time in the snow. But none more reminiscent of something from classic NFL films than the Eagles-Giants or Eagles-Lions game at Lincoln Financial Field, where there were whiteout conditions and as much as 8 inches of snow. Then later on, we've heard it mentioned for decades and seen endless failures to kick the longest field goal in NFL history and break Tom Dempsey's 43-year-old record. Denver Broncos' Matt Prater finally did it, kicking a 64-yard three-pointer just before halftime to bring the Broncos within 1 point. How about 104 touchdowns in one weekend, the most ever in NFL history? One of the most amazing was the 25-yard end zone corner pass to Chicago Bears Alshon Jeffrey, which was the 100th of the weekend. And then finally, I mentioned the storm game in Philadelphia. One would have expected a low-scoring affair with the conditions. Well, not if you've got the league's leading rusher, LaShawn McCoy. He went on to break the Eagles' single-game rushing record of Steve Van Buren, who rushed for 205 yards in 1947. McCoy rushed for 217 in horrible conditions, and that earned him an exhibit in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You couldn't ask for much more in a weekend.
Well, here you go, Mike. What's with our nation capital and benching superstars? First, we have Strasburg benched by the Nationals.
Great point.
And now we have RG3 to be benched for the rest of the season.
We've become a nation of wusses.
By Mr. Shanahan down there with the Redskins. I'm calling Shanahanigans there. What's going on?
You got to think the fans aren't very, very happy about this situation at all. We talked about this a little bit pre-show. You know, there's been a lot of speculation that what this is Shanahan really trying to one-up Snyder down there, who's the owner, and really trying to show, hey, who's really in charge. I'm not sure if it's exactly that way or not. Where are you coming down?
Well, see, I agree with you. I think they might be trying to shop Kirk Cousins.
That's what I think. Watch it. We're putting Cousins in. We've only got 3 weeks left. This might be a good time. Give him a showcase. Let's see if we can dangle him out there for something that they might be able to get back in the offseason. Last week, we brought you the who's on first down debacle during the Redskins-Giants game. Well, the ref responsible for that mess was, he was at it again this week during the Bengals-Colts game. Yeah. With 1:14 remaining to the half, Bengals running back Ben Jarvis Green Ellis was clearly stopped short of the goal line on a 4th and 1 from the 1-yard line. It could be seen by the naked eye from almost every angle. But after review, as is the standard protocol with less than 2 minutes remaining in a half, Jeff Triplett came out and stunned everybody by overturning the ruling on the field without conclusive evidence contrary to the ruling on the field and awarded the Bengals a touchdown. Even the NFL admitted the mistake. NFL Vice President of Officiating Dean Blandino said on Tuesday that Triplett made the wrong call. Blandino says that there wasn't enough evidence to rule either way, so the call on the field should have stood, standing, whatever. This guy's got to go, wouldn't you think? Huh?
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life
anywhere. This is probably why the leagues talk about going to a centralized replay system where now the front office is going to make the calls instead of
similar to what Toronto does in the NHL. Exactly.
Right.
And I saw what was that report today. That was the report today. I think that came right from Roger Goodell that this is what's being considered. And it's interesting you bring that up because when I read it, the first thing I'm thinking of is this situation with this game. That's exactly
right. Well, not this game. There's this game and last week's game.
Sure.
But I tell you what, though, I'm sure he's guaranteed to be on the Super Bowl officiating crew.
Triplett?
Watch.
Oh, boy.
Here we go.
I goofed.
We'll check on that one. I'm going to hold you to that one. We're going to see whether that happens. All right, listen, before we get to our picks of the week, let's go to our, how about we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to go to our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week, and this one really epitomizes just how real-time we are right here at the Frat House. It was a picture and an announcement of Matt Prater's record-breaking field goal, which I posted within minutes of his kick. And as I pointed out, make no mistake, we are timely, we are on top of it, and you can bet you're even
And he is a Denver Broncos fan.
you can bet that you're going to see. You will
He's
see
going to
that.
post everything.
You will see that kind of stuff from any team right here because I'm right on top of it. I sit right there in front of my computer and I update things as they happen.
Yep. Next
Even
week's
in real time.
Facebook post of the week will be Peyton Manning just took the biggest dump of the season.
That post right there got the most views, activity, and comments. The post he's talking about will not because it won't be there. Make sure you follow us over on Facebook, will you?
What the hell is happening?
I can't.
Who's in charge there?
All right. You can tell we're getting near the holidays. All right, let's get over to our games and picks of the week. And mercifully, the Denver Broncos are not part of them.
Surprise.
You're going to see some games listed here with some teams with sub-500 records. But make no mistake, each and every one of these games has a playoff implication of some nature with just 3 weeks remaining now in the season. And as usual, our picks of the week are brought to you by our friends Carl and Jim over at CLW83. And hey, be sure to get over there and check out their network and their new rebranded website. What do you say we kick it off with the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys? That's the 4:25 game on Sunday. Both of these teams are fighting to make the playoffs, and in both cases, it's probably going to require them to win their respective divisions to get there. Now, a most recent report from USA Today just this afternoon indicated that it is looking less and less likely that Aaron Rodgers may take another snap this season. So the 6-1 Packers are looking at having to make a playoff run with Matt Flynn, who last week guided the Pack to a 1-point win over the Atlanta Falcons. He threw the ball 32 times, completed 24 of them, gathered up 258 yards, and got himself a 95.6 QB rating. Now, that's not too shabby.
It's pedestrian.
It's actually not too shabby. Matt Flynn now we're talking about. So with the Lions and Bears just a half game in front of the Packers, it's not inconceivable that the Packers could actually pull this out yet and win the North. The Cowboys, on the other hand, are a full game right now behind the surprisingly East-leading Philadelphia Eagles. Who saw that coming? And the Cowboys right now are facing a must-win situation after losing in gruesome manner Monday night against the Bears, 45-28. Josh McCown just picked that secondary of the Cowboys apart with precision, while Forte ran at will against the Cowboys' 28th ranked rushing defense. And truly, the sad tale of the Cowboys this season has been their abysmal defense. Because, I mean, at this point right now, the Dallas fans certainly can't, put the blame on the outcome of this season on the shoulders of Tony Romo, who right now has 29 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions. Good news for the Cowboys this week. They're playing at home, and they're a 7-point favorite. Boys win this one, right?
Well, this could potentially come down to being a shootout because neither the Packers defense or the Cowboys defense is really that tough.
Right.
And it's December. Are we going to see
Which
the
Cowboys
December
team will
Romo come back? But I think the Cowboys are going to be able to pick this one up against a discount double checklist Packers. It's the boys this week.
Yeah, home field for the Cowboys. Plus, I know all the talk about the December breakdown and all that. I don't give it a whole heck of a lot of credence. I think it's just a lot of coincidence. Romo really has been very, very good. They're going to have to find a way to stop the Green Bay Packers defensively. And that's the big, big question mark. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm leaning toward the Cowboys. I'm picking the Cowboys myself. All right? All right. Second matchup. Let's go take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's the 8:30 game. That's a Sunday night game. Now, here's the interesting thing. We added this interdivision matchup not because of either one of these teams, but my thinking was it was because of the defending Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens. Huh? Yeah, Think about this. The Ravens are just 2 games behind the Bengals, and the Bengals can control their own destiny in the division by making sure they beat a crumbling, dysfunctional team like the Steelers. And to me, that's just the ingredient for a trap game. Cincinnati last week smacked down the playoff-bound Indianapolis Colts 42-28. The Ginger Giant Dalton, I got to be honest, he was pretty darn good. I got to say it myself. Throwing for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 120-plus QB rating. The Steelers' self-implosion mission continued last week, losing to the Miami Dolphins in the fourth quarter, 34-28 after being up in that game. Almost immediately following the game, the grumbling and grousing came from Roethlisberger towards offensive coordinator Todd Haley, openly questioning the game plan. Nonetheless, everyone needs to remember Roethlisberger is the number 5 quarterback in the league. The game is in Pittsburgh, but the Bengals have a 2.5-point edge in the odds. Do the Bengals have to worry about this being a trap game?
Well, I almost wanted to make this my bomb diggity bomb pick this week, because if you take the records out, the Bengals coming into Pittsburgh has all the makings of being a great game.
Except it's this year's Pittsburgh.
Well, it's this year's Pittsburgh and their record. But I think they're going to be up for this game on both sides of the ball. I am going to go with the Bengals to win this one out over the Steelers.
Right.
But like I said, this could turn out to be a great game.
It could, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've never seen a Steelers team in this much disarray. This team just looks like it's completely coming apart at the seams. And I don't mean, methodically on the field. I don't mean that they've got real problems mechanically on the field. I mean internally, emotionally, I think this team is blowing apart inside. And I don't give the Steelers any hope, I'm going to be honest with you, maybe of winning another game the rest of the season. I'm going with the Bengals on this one. All righty. Let's go over and take a look at, I just mentioned them, how about the Baltimore Ravens at the Detroit Lions? All right, we've talked about, who both these teams are competing up against in their divisions. That game is the Monday night game, 8:40. And as I just pointed out, we got 2 7-6 teams, one leading their division and one fighting to get into the playoffs. We've talked ad nauseum this season about the inconsistency of the Ravens. So the last thing they needed last weekend was a snow game of their own against the Minnesota Vikings. The Ravens ultimately prevailed in a game that set a record for 6 lead changes in the fourth quarter and 5 TDs in the final 2:01 of the game. Despite the fact it was against a 3-8-1 Vikings team, that kind of a win, well, that can galvanize a team and bring them together. At the same time that game was going on, just up I-95, a short distance, were the Detroit Lions playing in whiteout conditions against the Philadelphia Eagles. By the fourth quarter, the Lions just appeared to me, well, they looked tired. They looked like they were tired not of playing, but of the conditions themselves. And that allowed them to have 28 points put up against them in just the fourth quarter and lost rather convincingly 34-20. Matt Stafford, nonetheless, is the 3rd-ranked quarterback in the league. Calvin Johnson is the number 2 receiver. And while Johnson was only targeted 5 times in the Snow Bowl, you can expect that to be a bit different this weekend under better weather conditions. Sidekick, good game, tough pick, and a decision here. Lions are a 6-point home favorite. What do you got?
Well, the Lions need this game, as we've mentioned.
Both teams need it.
And the Ravens have not looked like the Super Bowl champions that they are all season long. As you said, we've talked about them over and over again. I'm going with the Lions on this one. Look to Calvin Johnson to have a good day. That's the Lions.
I'm going to call an upset. I'm going to pick the Ravens on this one. I don't know. I think that I don't care who the Super Bowl champion team is. When you come back and you're defending, you've got, I don't care how good or bad your team might be, you've got internal pride. I believe this team has some pride, and I think they're fighting to get in there. I'm going to pick the Ravens to come out. They're going to storm it, and they're going to win this game.
Is it that, or are you just trying to pick up on those 4 games I'm leading you by?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I got to pick them up someplace, don't I? We're going to go back. Let's go back in time for a moment. Let's go take a look at a 1 o'clock game on Sunday, and that's the Chicago Bears at the Cleveland Browns. And finally, one more game that has playoff implications, and actually, as I just pointed out before, could fall into that trap definition. The Bears are tied, as I pointed out, with the Lions atop the NFC North. And as I mentioned before, they're coming off that whooping they put on the Dallas Cowboys this past Monday. But Josh McCown, who has been more than a suitable replacement for starter Jay Cutler, well, he's not going to be in the lineup against the Browns. As it was announced late this afternoon, the Cutler has been cleared to play and will do so. Bears fans can only hope that there's not too much rust coming there and that all the passes find their way to Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, and Martellus Bennett. Plus, hey, keep the wheels rolling there, Matt Forte. The Browns have been one of those fickle teams that you never quite know which team is going to show up. What can you expect? They have the ability, in my opinion, to knock off any team any given weekend, and they almost did that last weekend to the New England Patriots, only losing by 1 point, 27-26. Jason Campbell is going to have a perfect game to knock off the Bears. And unfortunately, the Browns can't take a page out of the Cowboys' book by running the ball. The Browns don't have a running game. No. So, this is how close this game has come down to, Sidekick. Yesterday, the Browns were a 1-point favorite. Today, it's a pick 'em. So go right ahead, pick 'em.
Well, this is my bomb of the week, sponsored by the folks over there at CLW83. It's www.clw83.com. As you mentioned, word came out today that we're going to have Jay Cutler back in. Mark Trestman said... I'm
going to be honest with you. I'm a little disappointed by it, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, it comes down to two sides. Mark Trestman said, regardless, when Cutler came back, was healthy, he would put him back in. So, I give him kudos for sticking to his word.
But the hot hand, that's the whole thing. Go ahead.
We'll see. And, I looked at that today. McCown's only 2-3 over the last 5 games. So it's not like he's been on a star run. Yeah. Now, he's coming off a really great game last week, no doubt.
Yes.
But, it's kind of deceiving because he's only 2-3. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Cleveland's defense is not that good. We could be looking at possibly another shootout style game here with names being mentioned a lot: Forte, Cutler, Campbell, Gordon, Jeffrey with that the check with that
Marshall
touchdown he made last week. So, but ultimately, I'm going with the Bears on this one.
Mm-hmm. Going with the Bears as well on this one, albeit, as I pointed out, the Browns are very capable of knocking anybody off, I think, on any given weekend. And we're right in that spot right now where teams are going to be coming out and playing spoiler. You got to expect it.
Oh, sure.
All right, there you go. There's our picks for the week. Now, before we get out of football and get out of Dodge here, hey, what do you say we go over and take a look at our fantasy, Frat House Sports Fantasy League? Look at there. Only 4 teams remain. You and I both made it to the semifinals.
What is that?
You got a
major award.
You want to talk about that one? I think you're playing somebody you know.
Oh. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Third time. Our buddy Jim Williams and I are going to do the dance. But, here's the thing, though. I got to, give a lot of respect to Jim Williams. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's, looking at this matchup, it's going to be hard to beat Jim. It's hard to beat anybody 3 times, in a season. Who am I kidding? Dude, I own you. Yeah, bro. See you in
the finals, man. Very nice. I knocked off Dominators for the first time in 2 years last week. Thank God. Finally.
Cinderella.
It was only the 5th time I've had to play her, and I finally won. And that's when it matters. And I advanced to have to play our buddy Leslie over there at Juggernauts.
Yeah. Oof.
And
tough matchup.
I'm going to admit right now, I frankly think, well, I'd love it to be you and I in the championship, and I would love it. But I don't know if it's going to go that
could
way.
make for a fun show.
It would be great. It would absolutely be great. Everybody out there, pray that it's going to happen. But I'm going to be honest with you. Juggernauts is going to have a lot go wrong in order for me to win. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Well, honestly,
my quarterback's playing right now.
Well,
he's up there.
I know. I was going to say, I think in 3 years that we've had the league, I think you and I have only actually ever played once.
In all of the seasons.
In all the seasons. I think you and I have only met once.
You might be right.
So
that would be nice. That would be excellent. All right,
anyway.
let's get out of here. Great
nightmare.
show tonight. Great show tonight. We've had a lot of fun, obviously, as you can tell. One more thing I'm going to ask you to do. Make sure you get out there. Check out our website, our all-new website, FratHouseSports.net. Get over there and check us out there. And we'll be coming back with you right here. We'll let you know how the fantasy thing went. And we'll let you know whether it's Sidekick and I or not. And we'll be right back here with you next week on the 19th. In the meantime, you know what you got to do? You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. See you next week.
Wait just a freaking minute. Show's not over yet until I say it's over. I being me, Jim Williams. So, I understand it that I, from CLW83.com, will be facing some guy named Sidekick in this week's Frat House Sports Fantasy Football Playoff matchup. This same Sidekick individual who week after week after week just gets all these inane one-liners in on me. Now, I understand trash talking. I get that. I really, really do. But it gets to me. I have no chance to rebut until now. And I figured it out. It finally dawned on me why Sidekick is doing this. He's insecure. He's insecure about his manly football dominance. Well, guess what? I have no insecurities. That being said, I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to beat you, Sidekick, but I can guarantee I'm going to do my damnedest and try. So, stop the talking, field your best possible team, I'll field my best possible team, and the best team will win. I wish you the best of good luck. Sidekick, you're going to need it.
Okay, well, we got Uncle Mark on the line with us right now. And, well, Mark, we don't have you on video this evening because, well, the rumor is you're coming to us from the Board of Governors meeting.
Well, actually, that's not true, Mike. I'm coming from the room right upstairs.
No, God, we can't do that. Come on.